Today I'm going to be talking about one of those events that you have on the farm when you have farm animals. An event which brings a great joy, which very soon turns to great disappointment. So this is where we keep the angoras. This is the angora hutch, and this is where the 5 angora babies were born. And this is where, sadly, after about 10 days or so, they all died. No, no, good boy. Here you go. Okay, here you go. Here you go. Here you go. Here you go. So ever since that day, we have been extra careful in how we are managing the angoras. The angoras, we are keeping them indoors and we are feeding them indoors. We are giving them water indoors because it snowed here a couple of days ago and the ground is still wet. The problem with the angoras here is that once their wool gets wet, it soaks in all the water. It doesn't dry as much. It doesn't dry quickly, and a wet angora is a dead angora, and that's what happened to these 5 babies. Oh, this one, gotta go. No, come on. The floor of the angora hutch has to be made of mesh wires like this because when the angoras urinate, the urine should drain out and not remain and wet the angoras. So after a long dry winter, it finally snowed. And when it snowed, the first thing that we ensured was that the angoras are kept inside the hutch. They could not venture outside, and we would come in, we would feed them indoors, get them whatever from the kitchen we could feed them with, and put water inside the hutch and feed them inside because all the area around their hutch was covered with snow. Left to themselves, the angoras would obviously want to come out, and they were feeling a little caged in because we shut the gates on them after feeding them. They wanted to come out, and they wanted to come out and gambol in the snow, but we would not risk it. We cannot risk it because we know that the angora wool, once it gets wet, it's difficult for the angora wool to dry out quickly, and the angoras can very quickly, because of the wet wool, catch cold, and they can also die of the freeze, die of hypothermia. Angora's ground over here, the little compound over here, is still damp from the snow. We shoveled some of the snow yesterday, but we'll have to wait for their ground to be absolutely dry before we can let them out. The Angoras, I can imagine, are terribly bored inside the hutch over there, though the hutch for the 3 that we have inside is quite a big accommodation. But what is important here is for them to be absolutely dry, because once they go in this ground which is damp, their feet are going to be wet, their bellies are going to be wet, their wool is going to absorb all the water, and that is what kills the angoras. The angora's wool, it does not dry as quickly, and because it cannot dry as quickly, it leads to the angora catching the cold. And the night time, the temperature over here is still very cold. It goes below freezing sometimes, and the angora can quietly die in the night. And this is what happened to our 5 babies. The 5 babies that we had, they were doing very well, but one night they were kept over here in this hutch behind me. So we kept the mother with the babies, thinking the mother is going to take care of the babies, maybe suckle the babies in the night. But these creatures, they are dependent on us. They are dependent on the farmers to look after them. They are dependent on help to take care of them. They are absolutely vulnerable. They're not evolved to really survive, but they're evolved. They have been selectively bred over centuries for their wool, and that's what they produce. They produce very fine wool, which is almost 2 to 3 times warmer than sheep's wool. That's low blue, our sheep over there. His wool is, I think, about 16 to 18 microns, and the Angora wool is almost 10 to 12 microns. Very fine fur it has and very warm. This is why the Angoras were bred over centuries. They were bred for their wonderful wool, but now they have become absolutely dependent on us to take care of their wool, take care of their survival, feed them, look after them. And one of the important things, one of the most important things, if you're going to be keeping Angoras, especially because they're high maintenance, is that you have to ensure that the Angoras remain absolutely dry. So this is the reason, even though the snow has melted from the landscape over here, but the ground is still damp, and until it's absolutely dry, we are not gonna let the Angoras out because the ground is still damp. So what really happened with the babies was that we made a mistake of keeping the babies along with the mothers in this compartment over here. We kept the rest of the Angoras over here and the mother and her kids in this little chamber that we made specially for her and the babies, thinking that the mother is gonna suckle the babies in the night, maybe give some kind of warmth to the babies. But what happened was that the mother peed on her babies, and because these Angora babies, they were wet in the night time, they remained wet throughout the night, they froze to death, they caught hypothermia, and they died. The day they were born, everybody was excited except this mother Angora. Today, MeenaBagh Farms is abuzz with excitement. Today, our Angoras have given birth to 5 baby Angoras. So this is where we have kept the mother Angora with the 5 babies. And these babies are completely hairless. Now, the most important thing for us to ensure is that these babies, these Angoras, do not catch the cold because they are without any fur. So those days, our visitors would watch them, look at them, spellbound. I think they're hungry. The babies are over here, and I'm just gonna have a look at them. We've kept them in this basket. Oh my God, look at them. They're wriggling, what, hairless. Babies, I don't know. Babies, all babies, human babies, rapid babies, all of them are really very wrinkly, and if I can say that, they're also ugly. And so we are shaving the belly of the female Angora because the teats of the Angora are covered with the fur, covered with their wool. Very difficult for the babies to get to the teats. They were born 24 hours ago or so, and look at them, all so very frisky, and they're jumping about. I mean, with closed eyes, of course, wrestling each other, and they are alive. The mother was unaffected by all the fuss, and she also refused to suckle the babies. Perhaps she didn't know how to suckle the babies because she was the first time mother. She was concentrating on eating her carrots. So we had to come in, almost 4 of us, holding the mother down and bringing each baby to the teat of this bunny, this Angora who refused to suckle her babies. And it was, of course, a very stressful situation also for the mother to be in, she being held down by us while these babies scrambled all over her, finding her teats, having a go at the teats, sucking at them, and going from one teat to the other. If you look at them right now, the bellies are all very flat and somewhat wrinkled. But after we feed them, their bellies are going to be all very swollen. There'll be a marked difference. This guy is... To humans also. Look at this guy. He's The stomach is full of milk, as you can see now. Look at the belly, swollen completely, but it still hasn't
Still
had
want
enough.
some more.
Still wants more.
Give me more.
Yeah. I think all of them have swollen bellies now. Has it been 5 minutes? Because they said 5 minutes. Look at this guy now. Look at this. Contrasted to how it was earlier. It was very slim. Now look at the belly. So they're getting the belly. They're suckling.
Yeah.
He doesn't stay in one place. They always going to go to the next teat.
Yeah. And then they're getting lost in between. Just stay.
Maybe every teat has a different flavor. We try to compensate the mother of all the agony that she had to bear during the suckling by giving her a good grooming session every morning. And this here would be the last day when we would help the babies suckle on their mother. And we noticed that these babies had developed this very fine fur. They had become a little bit more active. They started to weighing a little bit more, even though they had yet not opened their eyes. And this would be the last day we would be holding any of them in our hands.